Welcome to another edition of Chef Knives to Go Quick Look Product Reviews. I'm Steve Gamache, and what we have this time is the Murata Aogami or Blue No. 1 Western or Yo-handled Gyuto 210mm knife. So this line of knives uses a steel that's not used as often as Aogami No. 2. This is Aogami Blue Paper No. 1, reactive high carbon steel. Heat treat should be in the 61 to 63 Rockwell range. The construction is 3 layers. So on either side of that hard center core cutting edge steel, you've got a soft iron, reactive iron cladding on either side of that. And then they've put a Kudauchi or blacksmith scale protective finish on that as well. And this does have lacquer on it as well, coating the blade for the food safe lacquer for a little bit of extra protection and until that wears off, of course. But it is an all reactive blade. The weights and dimensions on these will vary a little bit from knife to knife, being hammered, hand hammered and so on, the way they're made. This particular one is 187 grams or 6.6 ounces. And the edge length is about 215 on the edge from the tip to the back of the heel, known as the chin, of usable cutting edge, or about 8.5 inches. The overall length is about 13.1 inches or so, or 335-ish millimeters. The spine thickness, these are about 2.3 coming out of the bolster, and then it loses a little bit, but it's about 2 millimeters, about halfway down. And then you can see they don't have a lot of taper to them, so the taper really comes with the grind. And you can see the tip's not like super skinny on these, there's a little bit of a meat there to it, so not a lot of taper on these. Here's the choil shot. Again, these have a little bit of a meat behind the edge. That's the style of the smith. This has a little bit of a harder edge on the left side of the blade. The right side of the blade's just a tiny bit flatter. A little bit, not perfectly 50-50, but every blade's going to be a little bit different. Let's see, blade height is about 45 3/4 at the heel. Handle is a stabilized wood product known as black Paca wood. And so they've got a full tang on these. 3 stainless rivets. And you can see a stainless bolster there that flows in, so it's like a pinned bolster. And so on the fit and finish on these, they've done a little bit of rounding at the spine. It's not the world's roundest, but it's not objectionable, but there is an edge there. The choil, they've just taken a little bit off the edges on there, so you could say you want to put a little more in there depending on your preference, but I think it's totally usable right out of the box. These, it's hard to say on the edge. They've got a decent looking edge bevel on these, but they've got lacquer all the way down the blade, and it covers the edge as well. So the whole blade's coated in food safe lacquer for corrosion resistance. And so you'll probably want at least to sharpen this up and touch it up to get that lacquer off the edge. So I gave it a 4 out of 10 just because it's not super sharp right out of the box because of that. Let's see, balance point on these is going to be a little further back than a Wa or Japanese handle blade because of the full tang, but even with that, there's your balance point, so it's not too far off a pinch grip, so kind of still gives you that kind of neutral feel to it. I wouldn't say it's really handle heavy per se. These have a really neat texture to the finish. They've got, it's not a Tsusime effect, but it's definitely got hammering to it. You've got some nice texture, a lot of blacksmith character to the blade. You can really see that when you look at these textures here, so that's really cool. Every blade is very unique. A lot of blacksmith, you can see a lot of character to it. You can definitely see the handwork that goes into it. Every blade's going to be a little bit different. So these have one of the more interesting finishes, I think, of the knives on the Chef Knives to Go site. That's a really good view of it. So just a really cool look. There is hand engraved or hand chiseled kanji there. You can run your finger over it. This one has a little bit of lacquer on the spine right there, but so you can choose to keep the lacquer on and just let it wear away normally and expose the metal as you work with it. Some people get some acetone and just take it all off at once. It just depends on your particular preference. But really well-made blades. They're fairly stiff. The heel section is fairly flat on this, so it's got a nice area for chopping. So it definitely flows into a stop at the heel, and you can see a fairly flat section back there. And then the tip's kind of medium-low, so I'm going to get in that area there for the tip once I start digging in. You could tweak the tip just a little bit, maybe the last couple millimeters with a finish sharpening job, and upsweep it just a little if you felt like doing that. Then you get some more clearance here if you wanted that. But so this will do pretty well for a lot of different techniques. A little chopping, push-pull cutting, tip draws, glide cutting, a little bit of rocking, so pretty versatile. But this is a very interesting looking blade out of a somewhat unusual steel, the blue number 1. So, and it's also unusual to get a knife like this with a Western handle. So if you're looking for something and you want to try something different, you don't like the wah handle for some particular reason, or you like that kind of more standard Western look, this is one of the more unique blades in that configuration. So this is the Murata Aogami Blue number 1 Western or Yo handled Gyuto 210mm knife.